The John Wick series have been a hell of a ride. Who doesn't love a dark, sinister action movie featuring Keanu Reeves being a badass hitman, coming out of retirement to avenge his murdered dog? The film series also appeals and engages the audience at a very deep psychological level. Well, at least the first two movies in the franchise do. The last one, not so much. Allow me to demonstrate why the third movie, John Wick Parabellum, fails to stay true to the core fundamentals that make the John Wick series. It's the end of the second movie. The tone changes drastically as Winston gives John an hour before his bounty is officialized, and it remains this way at the beginning of Parabellum. "Let them come, I'll kill them all," says John at the end of the second film. Here we're expecting a bloodbath. An outright brawl with John using his big brain and the extra hour to combat the number disadvantage that he's in. Hence the name Parabellum, which means prepare for war. But then he uses all his resources to escape the city and seek asylum from the very people that ordered him to be assassinated in the first place. So what happened? How did we end up going from a fearless assassin ready to kill anyone who gets in his way to digging up graves so that he could beg for his own life? Why does the story allow for such a drastic shift in John's character development? This 100 to 0 level of change from the end of the second movie to the beginning of the third movie was surprising to say the least. Before his retirement, John was renowned as an unstoppable hitman. It would take only his name to silence a room. In fact, let's take in how other people would refer to John.
It's not just a car. It is John Wick's car.
Oh.
Viggo would also reference John as the guy you called to kill the boogeyman. Now compare this to current John. He takes out a cross he had hidden away known as a ticket, which he then uses to beg the director to help him escape the city.
Oh, Giordani, what has become of you?
He then finds Sophia and presents his marker, which by the way he was clearly against in the second movie, to force her to help find Barada to further assist him.
Come along, now.
These sequences of requests are not what John Wick is known for, since when is John Wick so reliant on others? Although Halle Berry's performance as Sophia was stellar, she took too much away from the no weakness image that John once upheld. And while the double dog action was amazing to watch, John was completely outshined by the other characters in this story arc. Moreover, John also endangered the lives of the people he asked for assistance from. We see this later on in the movie as they are forced to pay for their transgressions. John knows what would happen to them for helping him. He is no stranger to the business, as he's worked as a hitman till retirement. So for him to selfishly and carelessly allow for this to happen is quite surprising. The John we know is much more compassionate, especially to those who have helped him in the past. I want to now shift our focus to the plot. What made the John Wick series so enticing were the simple yet beautiful plots.
Oh, I love dogs.
If you kill John's dog, he would kill you. You piss me off, this is what you get. No one is too big to not have their asses handed back to them. This beautiful simplicity is lost in the third movie. We as the audience always knew that there was a higher level of organization to this whole system of assassination. We saw glimpses of the facilities that are available to the assassins, distributed around the world, including services such as tailoring, ammunition, transportation, and most recently, headhunting bounties. But all this foreshadowed a dark, controlled, perhaps politically corrupt upper body of management. Yet, here we are, following John traversing a random desert without a clear end goal, only to be transported to a magical camp in Fantasyland to make a strange, uncharacteristic deal with the big boss that he doesn't even uphold. Personally, when I was watching the scene, I thought John was going to pick up the blade and toss it straight at the Elder, and then proceed to kill everyone else in the camp, in classic John Wick fashion that we all adore him for. This would be the John we recognize, know, and want. Furthermore, we all knew John wouldn't kill Winston. I knew it, you knew it, Winston knew it, and yet we witnessed John mutilate himself by chopping off his own finger. For what? It would have potentially been symbolic that he cut off his own finger and gave up the wedding ring of his late beloved wife, only to return to the world of being a cold, demonic killing machine, which would ultimately be the way he chooses to spend the remainder of his life. But it was not. It had lost all meaning as soon as he chose not to kill Winston, but instead assists in defending the Continental against the Adjudicator and her army. It was pointless and symbolic of nothing. and it portrays circular character development, and it just makes it harder on the CGI team in the future movies. If he was going to fight against the hordes of the bad guys anyways, why have him go on a nonsensical, pointless adventure before he realized what he wanted? Now, let's talk a little about these guys. Zero and his crew of fanboy ninja assassins. These guys seem so out of place in this world of John Wick. The concept of mutual respect between John and other assassins in the series is extremely emphasized and really enjoyable to spectate. However, the Zero-John Wick relationship was way too over the top and borderline embarrassing. This is the type of comedy and interaction you would see between characters in a Marvel film. It does not suit the tense atmosphere built by the series thus far. This is a literary device known as bathos, which is essentially the release of built tension through the use of humor.
I'm a huge fan.
No one has been talking about this, but the timing and style of the comedy has changed drastically between the movies. We are more accustomed to experiencing darker comedy like this. John stabbing this Russian mob henchman as they stare deep into each other's eyes, slowly descending while the chorus of Think plays. For example, the mutual rivalry between John and Cassio was executed to perfection. Both assassins showed their mutual admiration to one another, but still managed to perfectly balance the tension. They respected the rules of the Continental, they even shared a drink, and at the end, John showed his courtesy to Cassio by allowing him to live.
Consider this a professional courtesy.
Now compare this to Zero. When we are introduced to Zero at first, he fits perfectly in this dark, gloomy world as an undercover assassin hidden in the shadows, enticed by the idea to be the one to finish John Wick. But then almost instantly, after his chase with John, his character is completely deconstructed to a comic relief gag. It was almost impossible for viewers to take the final fight scene seriously after the tension was zapped away through some cheap laughs moments before. Before the fight even began, the question changed from "I wonder how John will deal with this powerful opponent" to "I wonder if John will let him live or not."
Pretty good fight, huh?
Even Ares was a better rival because he fit in better with the atmosphere of the world. The reason why I criticize Zero and his crew so much is because of how much they defy the commonalities and characteristics of hitmen in this world. Every character we have been introduced to has been affected by this deadly lifestyle in some way or another. Many of them have horrible pasts that they try to escape or forget, or have different desires and motivations. It's quite clear that the life that they chose isn't easy, and they do only what is required of them. They are still capable of love. For example, John's wife, all the dogs, John's car, money for some assassins, Gianna D'Antonio for Cassio, whatever it may be. The point is, they're not doing this unless there's a solid, deep reason. Whereas these guys somehow made it seem like that the life of killing hasn't affected them at all. They are doing this for fun, and not the Joker-like crazy psychopathic killer type of fun. It's the childish, carefree type of fun. And regardless of how beautiful this type of fun may be in the real world, it's a mockery to the experiences and emotions felt by every other character in this film. Now, on a brighter note, despite all this, I thoroughly enjoy the series overall, and I'm a huge fan of the work of Keanu Reeves and the director Chad Stahelski. I admire the canine-loving assassin and the beautiful choreography work in the films. The movies do very well in the box office, and in the movie critic reviews. The third movie especially doing extremely well, boasting over $326.7 million in the box office. However, it still left me unsatisfied and longing for more. As the producers have already demonstrated the ability to excel in creating these thrilling dark action movies, John Wick 4 Resurrection should have no trouble retransitioning to this neo-noir film style that the original fans loved so dearly, if they choose to do so. Thanks for hearing me out.